Hi guys, welcome to my year in review video or end of year wrap up, where basically I will be going over my top 10 books of the year and the stats that I accumulated over the year, and I'll just be showing you all the books that I believe are the best books that I've read this year and tell you a little bit about them, and then just go into some other stats that I have here. In 2023, I ended up reading 35 books in total. 23 were novels, 13 were manga. My goal for the year was 15, so I more than doubled my goal, so I think that's pretty good. Next year, I'll probably set a goal of 20 books, so I think that's good. Overall, I read 9,004 pages. So I think that's good. I mainly read books that were dark, tense, mysterious, adventurous, and then my main genres were fantasy, historical, and science fiction. And my average rating for 2023 was 4 stars out of 5, so I think that's pretty good. Overall, still being in the higher range, so I'm very pleased with that. So let's just go ahead and get into my top 10. If I have the book, I'll hold it up, but some of them were library books, or I had a couple that were on the Kindle, so but regardless, it will pop up somewhere over here. So coming in at number 10 is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is a dark academia book. I read it, I believe, back in either October or September. The only dark academia that I read this year, but I wanted to get something in, at least in that genre. So The Maidens, I have my notes over here, so if you see me looking like down to the left, that's why, because I have notes. Because I can't even remember what some of these books are about by this point. Sometimes they go in one ear out the other, but so this book, like I said, dark academia, it features, it's about a female student has been murdered at this university. I believe it takes place in the UK, but I'm not 100% sure. So a female student has been murdered. Our main character is a psychologist, and so her niece attends this university. So because someone has been murdered, you know, our main character Mariana gets very nervous, so she goes to the university to check in on her niece. And while she's there, Mariana becomes very suspicious of one of the male professors, Dr. Fosca, because he has like a group club with some of the female students at night, and she just becomes very suspicious of his personality, the way he talks, the way he acts. She just becomes very suspicious and wary of him. So throughout the book, we are seeing her actions, his actions, and trying to figure out who actually is committing these murders. So it was very good. This is the only book on my top 10 that is a 4-star. The rest are 5 stars. I ended up giving it 4 stars instead of 5 because the ending kind of lost me a bit. It didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense compared to everything else, and it was very rushed. I felt like, but this was a very easy read. I read it, I believe, in like a week, so very easy to read. So I gave it 4 stars, and so that is number 10. So number 9 is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This was a short book. I believe it was only like 150 pages. And so it's science fiction, very short. And so it's about how robots are in the society, and they did coexist at one point with humans, but now there's humans and then there's robots. They do not coexist anymore. The robots have moved away to a remote part of the jungle. And so we have our main character, Dex, who sells tea. He has like a little tea booth that he goes around and travels to different towns and cities selling tea and helping people with like their ailments and their mental health. But they are growing very tired of that. They don't really know what their purpose is. They are trying to figure out, you know, if this is what they want to be doing for a long time. So they decide, just one day, they wake up, decide, hey, I'm going to go into the jungle, into the forest, and just see what I can find to try and find my purpose in life. So they get their little tea cart, they go into the jungle, and then they're struggling, it starts to rain, their kind of tea cart starts to break down, and then they discover a robot who introduces themselves as Mosscap. So Mosscap is all friendly and like, hello, hi, I see you are stuck, can I help you? And so of course Dex is like, whoa, okay, never seen a robot before, hi. And so this book really follows their friendship, their little arguments, the pettiness that follows, and so that is 5 stars. And so it is a series. I believe only the second one is out right now, and so I really want to read that one next year because it was just really cute, a cute book. It was very fast paced, and it was just a good read. I really enjoyed it. So I can't wait to read more of Becky Chambers' works. And so then we move on. So that was number 9. So now we're moving on to number 8, which is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This was one of the most well talked about and recommended books that I've seen online for this year and last year. I believe it came out this came out 2017, so I'm wrong. So it's been a few years, but it only like past couple of years has made its rounds on social media. Everyone was raving about it, so I decided to pick it up. And so this novel, it has a lot of gossip. It's about this like 70, 80-year-old woman, Evelyn Hugo, who was like a famous movie star, and she was in all these movies, but now she is retired, and so she never did an interview. She never really sat down with anyone and talked about her career, but she decides to finally have an interview with her name's either Monique or Monica, but she wants to have an interview with this one person. So I'll just call her Monica. So Monica decides to go to Evelyn Hugo's like penthouse to finally interview her about her career. And so throughout the interview, Evelyn Hugo talks about all of her husbands, and really talks about her career, the troubles that she had that she never revealed to anyone, and also talks about who her one true love was out of everyone she's been married to. It was very sad. It was a hard read. There was lots of drama, of course, as it would be in the movie industry, but also the ending kind of took me by surprise. It was very sad. I did cry a little bit. It was just a really great experience, a great time. It was my first 5-star read of the year, which was really good. I read this in the first, I believe, 4 months of the year, and so it was really good. If I'm correct, they might be adapting it for either TV or a movie, but yeah, just really, really great. So that is 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So now we're moving on to number 7, which is Into the Drowning Deep. I read this for like a book club that I'm in, and it's science fiction, and basically, like, if I could describe it in 2 words, it would be killer mermaids. So if that's your thing. But yeah, so there is kind of like like those ghost hunting shows, or these like kind of quirky, we're trying to discover mermaids, or we're trying to discover Bigfoot, and so it's kind of like that. So there was a TV show that was trying to discover these killer mermaids, and they went out to sea, to the ocean, the sea, to try and discover them, but that ship sunk. And so now our main character, her sister was on that TV crew. So now she is going with a whole other crew to try and discover what happened to her sister, and 2, if these mermaids actually do exist. And so there's a very large cast of characters. I think there's like 20 characters at least, so it's kind of hard to keep track of, but and so they're just trying to discover it. It got creepy at one point. It was very fast paced, which I enjoyed, but it was also a longer book, and I feel like some of the science talk, like the biology and Marine biology could have been cut down a little bit. I feel like it could have been like 100 pages shorter, but it was just very good. Also 5 stars. So that was Into the Drowning Deep. And so then number 6 was actually a sequel that I read. So I'm going to talk about, and the first book is on this list, so I'm going to wait to talk about that in a little bit. And the same with number 5 is also a sequel. So we'll just go ahead and go straight to number 4. So number 4 is the Gone series by Michael Grant. This was a series that I read probably back in middle school, which I really liked. I loved it as a kid, but I never actually finished it. So my goal for this year and next year was to read it and complete it. So I read the first 2 books of the series, which were Gone and Hunger, respectively. And so they were both 5 stars. And so what the premise of the story is one day, all these kids are in school. They're in like middle school, early high school. And so poof, all of a sudden, everyone above age 15 disappears. And so these kids have to kind of fend for themselves, basically. And so some kids start developing weird powers. Kids from like the private school come down and start posing a threat. And so everyone's kind of deciding what we should do with these kids with powers. Are they actually a threat, or can we actually use them in a helpful way? It's really good. I found that it still holds up all these years later. It's still action-packed. It's still fast-paced. It still has lovable characters after all these years. So that is why both Gone and Hunger are in my top 10. Both 5 stars. And so then, next, coming in, well, I guess I should talk about this one first. So number 5 is actually The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the sequel. I put it at number 5. So the sequel, well, yeah. So the sequel is basically where we follow our main character, Rin, has to live with all the damage and the mass genocide that she has committed. And so seeing her with all her friends and characters that we didn't think were going to be friends but actually are. And so it's about war. There's lots of politics. It can get very confusing, but just everything about it is fantastic. I mean, easiest 5 stars I've given in a while. R.F. Kuang is like a genius. She's a mastermind. I don't know how she does it, but I mean, it is fantastic. But please, if you're going to read this series, look up the trigger warnings, please. It does get very dark at times, but it is what it is. But that is why it's number 5. Fantastic. I can't get enough. I want to finish the series early next year, so I'm looking forward to that. And then coming in at number 3 is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I read this one, I believe, either in March or April. And this one, while I don't really remember much about it, I still think about it daily, which is why it's on number 3. So if I read a book and I still think about it like at least like multiple times a week, then it's going to be high on the ranking. It's a modern classic. If you've read it, then you understand why it's ranked so high and why it's called a modern classic. But please look up the trigger warnings with this. It is so dark. It's just so sad. I cried so many times reading it, and it's still in my mind. So The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, spot number 3. And then spot number 2 goes to A Magic Steeped in Poison, which I read back in September by Judy Lin. Reviews of this are mixed online. I think it has like a 3.5, 3.6. I gave it 5 stars, like easily. I don't know what it is about this book, but I mean, it is fantastic. Easy as 5 stars. I said that before, but like, you know. So it takes place in ancient China, and our main character, whose name I cannot recall, let's see. It's either Ning. Yes, Ning. So Ning, she brews tea, and one day she makes a tea that is poisonous that ends up killing her mother and poisoning her sister. So what she needs to do is go to the capital to a tea brewing competition to try and win favor of the princess, because there is a supposed mythical magic stone that can heal anyone of any ailment. So she really wants to get that to save her sister's life. But of course, she meets competitors, there's drama, there's politics, and it's just so good. And the world building and the imagery also is so good. That's why I think I really ranked it at number 2. It's just a really good read, and there aren't a whole lot of trigger warnings, I don't think, in this, if I can remember correctly. But really beautiful. So if you're into that fantasy, Asian authors, this is it. This is where you need to go. And then my top book of the year, number 1, 5 stars. If I could give it 10 stars, I would. That is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I put the first book above the sequel, which was The Dragon Republic that we talked about. I put it above just because the first one is just so memorable and so effective. And so Rin, our main character's name is Rin, she hates her life. She hates it. She has to live with her aunt, uncle, and cousin, and she is about to be married off to just this horrible guy. And so she wants to go to Sinigard to study. I believe it's just magic in general, but she wants to go there to study, which is Sinigard is this very powerful, very elite school for young teenagers, I guess. And so she wants to go, so she has to study super hard, and she barely makes it in. She's the bottom of all of these hundreds of students. She's at the very bottom. But as she's there, she makes friends, she makes enemies, she has weird teachers, and so this book is really about her awakening the powers inside herself. Then of course the war comes up, and so they have to battle that. It is just, there aren't words for how amazing this book is. I mean, it has imagery, there's friendship, there's drama, there's politics. Everything that you could want in a fantasy novel is inside The Poppy War. If you've read it, you know, I don't have to preach to you, but I mean, it is just, I don't know how R.F. Kuang, I need to get inside her mind, because I mean, it's just amazing. So yes, Poppy War, my number 1 book of the year. So that is my top 10 for all of the books of this year. I also wanted to very quickly do a talk about my least favorite book of the year, which I had not really high expectations for, but I expected it to be at least good, and it wasn't. So that book was The Book Eaters. I expected it to be actually about book eating, and it really wasn't. So the title, for one, didn't make sense. It seemed very immature, kind of cringy. The dialogue didn't make sense. The characters were very flat and annoying. So that was my least favorite book. I don't want to take too long on that one. So The Book Eaters, I don't recommend it at all. Please don't read it. My favorite manga of the year was Requiem of the Rose King. I've been reading it for a couple of years now, and so I'm finally getting kind of caught up on it. So that was just really good. It takes place with the War of the Roses in England, I believe in 14 to 1500s maybe. But yeah, just really good. And then my favorite anime of the year, Attack on Titan, finished up, which I had already read the manga whenever that finished a couple of years ago. And so for how long it's taken them to animate the last part, 4 years, which okay, whatever. Very good, 5 stars. It felt a little rushed, to be honest, but it was still great. So that's my favorite anime. Favorite TV show is One Piece, the Netflix adaptation, which came out, I believe, September. 10 stars. I don't even want to get into it because I could ramble for 30 minutes on why I like that so much. But if you haven't seen One Piece on Netflix, the live action version, please go watch it. There's only 8 episodes. It is fantastic. And then my favorite game of the year, Tears of the Kingdom. That shouldn't come as a surprise. It was always going to be Tears of the Kingdom because the Legend of Zelda franchise is my favorite, like, video game world. It's my favorite game. And so Tears of the Kingdom is the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which came out in 2017. And so I haven't finished playing it. I play games very slowly, but it's just 5 stars. It's just very good, fun time. And then my favorite song of the year, I struggled a little bit coming up with one, but there's lots of good songs. I just couldn't think of like one that conquered over all the others, but I ended up giving it to Stray Kids. And the song is Top Line by Stray Kids featuring Tiger JK. Very good. I never skip that song. It's always crank the volume up to 10. Always great. There are lots of other songs that I really enjoyed this year, but that one is probably my favorite. And I didn't really watch any movies this year. I watched one movie, and it wasn't that good, so I didn't include a movie. But yeah, those are my favorite things of this year. My favorite books. The Poppy War came out on top, and then all the other 10. And the other ones that I read, like the other 13 that I read, were also very good. A majority of them were very good, but it would take too long to talk about every single book I read this year. So yeah, I'll be doing another video later on the books that I want to read for next year's TBR. But yeah, for now, that is it. Those are my favorite things from this year. So I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.